Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I'm your host, founder of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. If you can do us a big favor, give us a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, follow, all those things that are free. We would greatly appreciate that. Thank you for your support of sticking with us, whether this is your first episode or you have been with us for our over 270 plus in-studio and out-of-studio combined episodes, which we will surpass the total of 300 total episodes in studio, out-of-studio, remote locations. We'll be doing that by the end of 2025 calendar year. So it's an exciting time. A lot of activity that's going on at Voices for Voices. We're just grateful to have you with us, watching, listening, here in Ohio, Northeast Ohio, or anywhere else across our great nation and the world. Approaching 80 countries, which is mind blowing. 800 cities on top of that is just really mind blowing. That we have garnered that interest. When we start something, we want something to be big. We want things to happen kind of overnight, and that's not the case. And to be here and stick through, persevere to where we're at and where we're going, because the TV show and podcast is not the only area that Voices for Voices is that you're going to be hearing the name Voices for Voices before the end of 2025. There's going to be some very probably surprising to some, but really some incredible activities that are going to be unfolding, and we are just so grateful to be able to have that opportunity to do that. So you'll see that in the coming shows and coming public statements in the next couple of months that have a little more clarity on that. And as you can imagine, with any type of project, or you have any type of competitors or anybody really out there that's looking to gain a step up. Try to take an idea or what. It's important to keep those things a little more private, or actually a lot more private than some others. And so that's why some of the areas we're not able to share publicly with. And obviously this is not just it's a public show and podcast, but it's also a global TV show and podcast, and we are grateful for whoever is tuning in for this show. We're grateful to have the opportunity to have anyone in a high government position, like the President of the United States, Donald Trump, or heads of state, Prime Minister in the UK, that are knowledgeable of Voices for Voices. It's really just it's incredible, and so we thank you and we welcome you, whether this is your first episode with us or if you've been with us from the beginning. It's because of you that we're here and will continue to be. On our previous in-studio episode, we were talking about bribery and blackmail as it relates to an individual named Bryan Davis. Was attempting to bribe Mr. Stephen Reimers, who's a stepdad of a prior guest of ours on our show. So Mr. Bryan Davis was trying to bribe with money Mr. Reimers to take all the intellectual property belonging now, in the past, and anything in the future, and give that to Mr. Bryan Davis. And Mr. Bryan Davis, it's not his work. He has no reason to be asking for that. I mean, he can ask, But when you start putting money on the table and you start putting that in messages, well, that's a little bit, you're taking a little bit far when you do those things, because instead of like, hey, yeah, like, the next book, can you put me as a co-author and we'll split the royalties, or I don't know, whatever that might be. That's one thing. But to say, well, I'm going to offer you a sum of money, Mr. Reimers, if you help me take this individual's work and I'll make it mine. And so that's why it was important in our last episode in studio. We were talking about the definitions of blackmail and bribe. And so we're going to continue that because it has come to our attention that Mr. Bryan Davis has done this once again. And so this is recently. So the Mr. Reimers communication happened, I believe, at some point, either late 2024 or early 2025. What we're going to be talking about in this episode, we're going to build on the previous episode, but what we're going to build on with is something that happened less than a week from when we're filming this episode. And so it's you may be asking, well, how does this have anything to do with Voices for Voices? And well, we're going to find out even more. So we talked about last episode, but this episode's really gonna get there. So if you had any questions, but what I wanted to do was just to read a couple quotes from Mr. Reimers from episode 266, where we interviewed Mr. Reimers on our show remotely, so out of studio. So episode 266, you can find that everywhere you find Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. Check that out. That's what I'm referring to. So the transcript from Mr. Reimers, I'm just going to read a couple sections of it. The first one is, quote, he, and the he is Mr. Bryan Davis. So this individual who's asking Mr. Reimers to, let's take the rights in intellectual property from Mr. David Solomon, who's doing the work and has done the work, and give it to me, and I'll give you, Mr. Reimers, some money. So jumping back into the transcript. So he, Bryan Davis, was basically trying to get me to sell you, and so the you in this case is our former guest, Mr. David Solomon, is trying to get me to sell you, Mr. Solomon, down the river. Take me in, give you all of your intellectual property over to Mr. Davis. So that's what Mr. Bryan Davis was asking Mr. Reimers to do, it was plain as day. And so again, this is a fact, and Brian, we know you're watching, we know you're listening. You did this, Mr. Reimers. And the very important thing I should have mentioned on the last episode, but anybody who watches or listens, at the conclusion, I asked Mr. Reimers, are you given truthful information? But not only that, I said, is anybody coercing you into sharing and talking about the topics and the information? And he said no. He said, I'd be happy to share that, because you got to think of it from just a human perspective. So number one, Mr. Reimers is being asked and saying, hey, here's a sum of money that's greater than $50,000. Again, you'll learn here shortly why $50,000, why I'm talking about $50,000, and why $50,000 is the number that I keep referring to, that this bribe was trying to do was well over $50,000 to give to Mr. Reimers for intellectual property. And so we talk about blackmailing, and we get down to that level, and I guess it's more still like bribing. So Mr. Reimers has a business. He sells hyperbaric chambers to doctors, hospitals, you name it. That's his business. And when Mr. Reimers turned down, or whatever the response was, to Mr. Bryan Davis, which wasn't, yes, I'll do this. Mr. Bryan Davis was clearly not happy with that. And you say, well, okay, so what? You bribe somebody. Again, I'm trying to play devil's advocate, but also give you straight facts. The other interesting part to this whole thing is not only the intellectual property rights that Mr. Bryan Davis is trying to get, and he's still trying to get to this day. So that hasn't stopped. But secondarily, Mr. Reimers, again, has a business. He sells hyperbaric chambers. Well, Mr. Bryan Davis has chosen how and all that, the mechanics, I don't know. But what I do know is Mr. Bryan Davis is, because of his clout, because of his power, because of who he knows, because of, again, that money type of deal, is reaching out to customers and clients, potential clients of Mr. Reimers, and saying, "Oh, you don't want to buy from Mr. Reimers for whatever reason." And so I just think of what would be the reason why I would, and we're talking also company, organizations, hospitals, and doctors' offices. We're talking about people who have already agreed to terms, and so these aren't all just cold calls where Mr. Reimers is calling and they say, "Oh, sorry, I'm not interested." Some of these are actual customers that the terms and conditions are set. Basically, the money is ready to be sent and wired. And so how does Mr. Reimers know that that's the case? How does he know that it's Bryan Davis? Well, he knows because there's a sum of money over $200,000 from a sale that Mr. Reimers was expecting because he completed the sale. And somehow, some way, that money never made it to Mr. Reimers. And so Mr. Reimers is doing his investigation and putting things together. And so it's come to our attention that Mr. Reimers believes, again, through our interview with him, that Mr. Bryan Davis has not only attempted to bribe him for the intellectual property and all that we've talked about, but he is also trying to now take Mr. Reimers' ability to make an income, to support himself, to pay the bills. And that is something that is directly affecting another human being. So now we're not even just talking about, well, it's Mr. Solomon that Mr. Davis is trying to get information and, take to the cleaners, whatever terms we want to use, of taking all his information and then publishing and doing things on his own and taking credit for it. He's also now saying to somebody else, who is Mr. Solomon's stepdad, Mr. Reimers, is saying, okay, you didn't accept it's a bribe, so there's no other way to say it. You didn't accept my bribe to take Mr. Solomon's rights and intellectual property and such, so I'm going to go at you from another angle. I'm able, because I know people, I have a son in the FBI, and these are things that are just facts. These aren't things that I'm conjecturing on. These are facts that have been proven, and Mr. Davis has some power that not every individual has. And so for him to call up customers and find out who those customers even are, that's a little bit interesting too, I think. But so for a sale of over a couple $100,000 for one customer to have basically signed on the dotted line, we want to purchase X amount of hyperbaric chambers, and we're going to pay you X amount of dollars, by X, whatever date that is. And so Mr. Reimers was notified that this money for this transaction should be coming at a particular time, particular date, and so Mr. Davis has interfered with Mr. Reimers' ability to make a living and make an income. And so that's something that, again, If you want to hear more, you don't believe me, tune in to episode 266. You can hear it from Mr. Reimers himself. And again, we're sharing information, we're sharing facts, we're sharing voice. This is a public safety concern as well, because how many other people has this happened to or could happen to? And so we want to alert, people to own businesses. We want to alert parents and families that, if you hear this person's name, to do a little research before going forward with, this individual is an author, and and on and on and on and on. So do your research. That's what we say. The information we have, we believe in good faith, are facts, and again, I'm sharing straight from the transcript from Mr. Reimers. So, Mr. Davis, I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be doing this activity if you don't want it to be found out. It's something that you didn't just stop there. And this is where it gets to be even more personal here with our organization. So, over the 4th of July, actually before the 4th of July, our organization, we were notified through different channels, so that just basically means different individuals, that there could be a cyber attack that might be affecting our Voices for Voices email and whatever what we have. And so at first, I take it as with a grain of salt, because you hear these big names. You hear me talk about bribery and blackmail, and then you hear me talk about an actual sum of money, and it was offered, and it was taken, and it wasn't, and then they're taking business, and it's able to be traced back to Mr. Davis calling the bank, and so money that should be coming to an individual for a sale, they should be getting, just as it just disappears as if nothing was there. No transaction, no sale. Mr. Reimers calls up the customer, and they just say, hey, we sent the money, and then they have a real short conversation. So then fast forward to just about a week ago. So this episode will be first premiering a couple of weeks after that this occurred, but it's still super fresh. So in the July 4th weekend, I was made aware of that there could potentially be some type of a cyber attack to gain access and, find emails, I don't know. We were just made aware of that something is imminent, something's going to happen from good authorities that we were hearing this from. And so the first thing I want to say, obviously this is a public safety concern, right? So we're a public charity, and even if we weren't, as individuals, there's certain rights we have within the Constitution, and as any human being here in the United States, we should not be targeted for any type of a cyber attack, for anybody to steal any type of information. Give you an example. You receive an email from somebody you don't recognize, and they ask, hey, so-and-so, and that so-and-so is the CEO or president of your the company or organization. So-and-so is away from the office. They left their credit card at home, and they need to pay for the hotel. So can you send, $1,000 on your credit card? You'll be reimbursed for that. And then there's a link. And then somebody goes, oh, yeah. Click the link. Takes you to a place to enter your information. You never see that $1,000. That's called like a phishing, not an phishing attack. It's a phishing attack. So they're phishing for information, or phishing for money. And then the other type of phishing, so the one that I mentioned, as far as, hey, they're impersonating somebody. So they're phishing for money. They'd also be phishing for information. So that same email might come to you or I, and it might not say, we're asking for money. It might just say, you need to reset your password for your email. And say, oh, I didn't realize I have to. And, well, I don't know everybody that works in information technology, the IT department, so yeah, I guess so. And so you click the link. You go somewhere, you think you're changing your password. Well, that gives the attacker the ability to have free reign over your computer and do basically anything they want. They can look in files, they can delete them, they can modify them, they could just do a lot of bad things, which are against the law. So again, how's that tie into voices over voices? So again, we were alerted some type of cyber attack was going to be happening around July 4th. So July 4th comes and goes. But during July 4th, in the evening, we were noticing through our security measures, we were noticing an elevated number. So let's just look at it this way. On a normal day, we might see the number 2 for, I'm not going to give the metric of what it is, but we might see the number 2. Well, on just an hour or two in an evening, we were seeing like 300. So that was obviously very alarming, and so we knew something was going on. Then we come to find out that an individual, most likely by the name of Bryan Davis, and I'll tell you why most likely, because of this pattern of activity I've talked about. It's most likely him that did it, and that was the information we were given, that it's coming from. There was a couple individuals, and his name was one of them that it could be coming from. And so we're like, okay, yeah, we hear these things on the news, and we read about them, and Target, gets hacked, and information, and all those things. So between the 4th and really a day or two before this filming, there was a bribe attempt from Mr. Davis, which there is documentation on. I don't have it here at the current moment, but there is documentation that Mr. Bryan Davis reached out to an individual who the only way they would have known about this individual would have been through a very less than 5 people would even know of this particular individual. So this particular individual, subsequently after July 4th, receives message from Mr. Bryan Davis. And what does that message say? I'll give you $600,000 to not do this. Cannot make this up. $600,000 again, and I'm going to say 50,000. It's 600,000 is greater than 50,000, and 50,000 you'll learn here in a short period of time why that 50,000, why that's even important, and why Mr. Reimers and the million or more that was offered to him to take Mr. Solomon's information. $600,000. So that's a lot of money to a lot of people. And so this individual was thinking, oh my gosh, I could get $600,000 and all I got to do is what this person's asking. And this person, again, is Bryan Davis. This isn't, again, this isn't some wish in the air that we're making. This is a fact. That's who contacted him. So that's how we can triangulate that. Well, this person would never have been found out about if there wasn't this person doing the cyber attack. And we're fishing through documents. Well, I mean, there's not a lot of exciting things that go on. It's just standard business proceedings that go on. So there's not a whole lot of exciting things. But Mr. Bryan Davis, either him or somebody that's working for him, with him, got him contact information, got him name, and Mr. Bryan Davis offers money. So that's that pattern I talked about. It's a pattern, and that's a pattern of facts. So this individual, at the end of the day, decided, I'm not going to accept that money. So Mr. Davis says, oh, well, I know this something else is something that you struggle with and that you're working through. And I'm not going to name what that is, and it's none of my business what that is. All I know is, I do know what that is, but it's none of anybody outside, the people that do know. And so Mr. Bryan Davis offered, well, I'll help you over here if you do the same thing. That same action. So whether it's money, whether it's, I don't know, a car. I'm not saying it was offered a car. Just using it as an example. That's what occurred. And this individual, to the current time of this filming, has turned Mr. Bryan Davis down on that. And so that's how it affects Voices for Voices, because Mr. Bryan Davis used a cyber attack against Voices for Voices to get information and tried to bribe another person. They only would have found out how they found out through a cyber attack, and found out from who they found out from through communication of our organization. So Bryan, you might not like it. You're in the wrong, and that's all I can say. Your bribes, everything that you're doing, trying to trip us up from opportunities, trip up individuals that aren't even, they're semi-tied to Voices for Voices, like Mr. Reimers. I mean, he's on our show, so now he's a guest. But other than that, he's just a stepdad. Like I didn't have conversations with that individual. So that individual had no reason to lie. So you did offer Mr. Reimers money. You did offer this other individual money. And you also offered something else. So watchers, viewers, listeners, look out for an individual named Mr. Bryan Davis, who also works with an individual named Mr. Scott Miner. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I'm your host, founder of Voices for Voices, and we ask that you're a voice for you or somebody in need, and we pray that God watches over you and I and everybody across the world and who has passed before us and is going to come after us. Thank you.